We're out here today testing the NikeCourt Zoom NXT. Come check it out.
First things first, it is worth knowing that this is the replacement to the GP Turbo. So throughout the playtest, I was comparing the playability of this shoe to that previous shoe that we all really liked. And I have to admit, this is one of those shoes that the more I wore it, the more I loved it. So I did notice that it didn't feel as bouncy or responsive that first week of wear, but I feel like that definitely got unlocked as I wore it more. So that was a positive for me for sure. I also love the upper of this shoe. It's definitely lighter and more comfortable and much more breathable than that GP Turbo. I also found the fit to be medium and it fit my feet really well. I was just craving a tiny bit more support. There is a stylistic feature at the top of the lacing system and I was hoping that would add support, but it's just more of a style thing. So that's really my only complaint. Really comfortable, bouncy shoe that I could wear for weeks on end.
I got to test these shoes when I was over in Europe, so I got to hit them on the clay courts as well with the clay court outsole as well as this hard court version. And for me, it is actually a better clay court shoe than a hard court shoe. I've tested it for a long time, way longer than I get to test usually shoes. And after about a month and a half, the uppers have really softened up and opened up. And the shoe is not really holding my foot as well as it used to. But for that first month and a half, it worked well on the hard courts. But now I just prefer it a bit more on the clay courts where I'm sliding out of shots and it's a bit more give to the surface. And I don't get that abrupt stop, which has me kind of rolling over the outside of the midsole, which is happening with this upper. It's ballooning out a little bit. It is amazingly comfortable though. The cushioning is great. I feel low to the ground. I feel secure under my feet. Just the uppers have become so soft and supple that they're not quite gripping my feet anymore. Also the fit I found fairly roomy up in the forefoot of the shoe, and that has continued to expand a little bit as the shoes have aged. And so it's just become a little bit of a sloppy fit for me as well. But I do feel very fast in the shoes. The traction on the hard courts has been great. I've been very impressed with the outsole durability. The upper durability is a lot of mesh there. So if you're the type of player that drags that trailing foot and gets the upper in contact with the court, you might have some issues going through the mesh. I know some of the other play testers over in Europe were having that issue. But for me, they've held up really well as far as durability, and the traction's been great. So fun play test for me, definitely a very comfortable ride, and a shoe I've enjoyed playing it.
I have a bit of a wider foot than some of the other playtesters, so although some of them found a fit a bit wide, for me I found them to be a bit narrow for my foot. The uppers and the forefoot are nice and soft, and up there I feel like there's a nice medium width. However, down through the midfoot, I have a pretty wide foot there as well, and there's this hard plastic piece that you just won't break in. It's a pretty stiff material for support and things like that. However, because my foot is a bit wide, it just constantly did add pressure to my foot. Throughout the playtest, I was struggling with how much to lace the shoes to make them a little bit more comfortable, but unfortunately, it's just not a good fit for my wider feet. Underfoot, I did find that the cushioning wasn't as plush as the GP Turbo, but I felt it was responsive and good enough for my needs. I like a shoe that has a bit of a lower ride to the court, and this was providing that for a fast feel. And I like the traction of these shoes as well. I never felt stuck and I wasn't slipping, so I felt very sure of foot, and it was a very predictable response. I thought the stability was good too. I didn't wear these as much as I normally would just because they were fitting a little bit narrow for me through the midfoot, so I didn't see too much wear on either the toes or the outsoles. So overall, I thought these were very light and fast shoes, however, they just weren't a great fit for my foot.
Since these are supposed to be a replacement for the GP Turbo, when I first put them on, I was expecting a really plush, pillow-like ride, but these shoes felt more low to the ground, more responsive. To me, they felt more like a vapor in that sense. The other thing that really stood out to me was the fit. I agree with both Chris and Tiff here. The forefoot is a little bit roomier. However, I have a wider foot, and through that midfoot area, I found it to be a little bit too narrow. I think it's because of the plastic pieces on both the medial and lateral side. And so it wasn't really flexing and breathing and letting my foot sit there. So I was getting some soreness, but as the playtest wore on, they did break in more and that soreness kind of went away. Performance-wise though, I felt like these were an upgrade to the GP Turbo. I wasn't getting that toe jamming issue that I had with that GP Turbo in these shoes, and I felt like the side-to-side stability was great, support was great, and I really liked the traction. It had a nice blend of grip and give. Overall, these are supposed to be a replacement to the GP Turbo, but I felt like they're totally different type of shoes, and I think these are more of a match day type of shoe, more low to ground, a little bit more lightweight, minimal, and I think this is a great option if you have a more narrow to medium width foot.
When I first opened the shoebox of these shoes, I was actually really excited to see kind of a really unique looking shoe with the hole down here, as well as I really liked the color blocking on this shoe. I thought it was really pretty and it matched my outfit nicely. So as soon as I slipped these shoes on my feet though, I always get a quick fit test, and for me, I found that they fit my foot really nicely in the midfoot and the heel. I have a narrow width foot, so that fit perfectly in the toe box. Was average for me. I didn't feel like it was narrow or too wide, so that was a great fit as well. Now when I play tested this shoe, I put about 15 or so hours on it, and about around hour 7 or 8, I started to notice that the upper, while it's really breathable, started to loosen up for me. And as I continued to wear this shoe throughout the playtest, it loosened up almost too much for my narrow feet, and I lost that great stability and support I got at the beginning of the playtest. Now, I was a really big fan of the GP Turbos. They were in my top 3 shoes the last year or so. And for me, while it replaces it, I don't feel like it's a direct comparison. The GP Turbos had really bouncy, plush cushioning underfoot. This one's a little bit less, more minimal cushioning, but still very comfortable. And I also found it was lower to the ground and a little quicker, sleeker feeling when I was moving around. As far as the other characteristics of the shoe, nothing really stood out. I thought the durability was fine, the weight was fine, as well as the traction. Maybe it was a little bit on the stickier side right at the beginning of the playtest, but it smoothed out and I didn't really notice it going forward. Overall, I think this shoe is a great offering for players looking for light and quick all-around playability. For more information on this shoe or any others, please check us out at Tennis Warehouse, Tennis Warehouse Europe, or Tennis Only.